Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a good potato soup at home. This is a very rich and creamy soup that is very easy to make. It is made with potatoes, carrots, and celery that is all cooked in a delicious bacon fat. For the recipe, we're going to need 2 pounds of potatoes, 2 garlic cloves, 1 large yellow onion, 1 pound of carrots, 2 celery sticks, and 6 bacon slices. You could use more, but more on that later. To season, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of chicken bouillon, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1/4 a teaspoon of black pepper, 1 cup of heavy cream, 2 tablespoons of butter, 12 ounces of evaporated milk or 1 can, and 4 cups of water. Now the first thing we need to do in this recipe is to cut the vegetables. But before we cut any of the vegetables, we need to make sure to rinse all the vegetables and rinse them well. This is true especially with the celery because the celery is going to have a lot of dirt in between the sticks. Then you can start cutting your celery to about 1-inch thick pieces. Then we want to cut the carrots. The carrots, you need to peel them first, chop off the ends, and then you're going to cut them into about 1/4 inch thick pieces. But remember, this can vary depending on how you like your soup. So if you like a chunky soup, then you cut the vegetables even thicker. But if on the other hand, you like your soup to be very smooth, then just chop up the vegetables very small. Now for the onion, you want to peel it and you want to roughly chop it into small cubes. When cutting the onion, you don't need to worry about being precise because at the end, it doesn't matter if the onions are a little small or a little bit bigger because by the time you finish cooking your soup, the onions are going to be disintegrated. You're not even going to notice that this soup has onions. And the combination of these 3 vegetables is what in French is called a mirepoix, which is what is classically added to soups and stocks, but you can add many more vegetables if you like. Now from all the vegetables that I add to my soup, I always like to be my potatoes to be last or one of the last veggies that I prep. This is because if you peel your potatoes and just let them sit there for a long time, they will get brown on you. Then you want to cut the potatoes into about 1-inch thick pieces. When cutting the potato, just try to stick to that 1-inch range because if you cut your potatoes way too small, they will disintegrate completely once you finish your soup. And when the potato disintegrates, it's actually good because it helps thicken your soup, but you don't want all your pieces to disintegrate. So that's okay if you cut a few of them small, but just try to keep it the same. For this recipe, the type of potato that I used were russet potatoes, but you can also use gold. Then last, we're gonna peel and we're gonna chop up our garlic. Just cut it into about 1-inch thick pieces. No need to be precise. And I suggest that for this recipe, you use fresh garlic instead of the jar garlic version because it will taste way better at the end. Now we need to cut our bacon to about 1-inch thick pieces. Now, this bacon, I use it for 2 things. 1, for the fat, and 2, because I use it as a topping for my soup. Now, the bacon has 2 purposes. The first one, that is going to be the fat, which we're going to cook our vegetables in, and is going to add flavor. And second, we'll use it as a topping. Then you're going to need a large pot so you could cook your soup. You're going to set it on high heat, and you're going to add the bacon. You want to cook your bacon until it's very nice and crispy, and this could take about 8 minutes more or less. Make sure that you constantly stir your bacon while cooking because this is gonna do 2 things. First, it's gonna break up the bacon clumps, and 2, is gonna help prevent the bacon from burning. Now you're gonna notice a lot of bits and pieces on the bottom of your pan, but don't worry because this is gonna add flavor to your soup. Now once you cook your bacon to your liking, you're gonna remove it from the heat and you're gonna set it in a plate with a paper towel so it can absorb all that excess fat. Then just set it aside and we'll use it later on. Now you're gonna have a lot of grease on the bottom of your pan, but don't worry because we need it. But if you use extra bacon, you're gonna have to remove some of that fat before going on to the next step because if not, you're gonna end up with a very greasy soup. Then you're gonna add your carrots, your onions, your celery, and your garlic because we need to saute this. And if you wanna add any more vegetables to your soup, this is the time to do it. You're gonna saute these vegetables for 2 minutes and make sure you keep on stirring and that you scrape the bottom of the pan so you can start releasing what's on the bottom of that pan because that's where the flavor is. Then we're gonna add our butter. Then we're gonna move this butter around because we need to make sure that it melts and it covers all the vegetables before before adding the next ingredient. Then we're gonna make some space in the middle of the pan or on the side because here we're gonna add our flour. Then we want to quickly stir around that flour with the butter that is in the bottom of the pan because we don't want it to burn. You want to stir the flour around until you can no longer see that it's white. The flour in the recipe, what it does is that it helps us thicken our soup. You'll know that you're ready to move on to the next step because your vegetables will look like they have a paste on them. And if you want to add a little bit of spiciness to your soup, you can add 1 chopped jalapeno right here. And finally, we're going to add the potatoes and we're going to mix them with everything else that is in our pot. Now, some people when making soup just dump everything into a pot, stir it, cook it, and they're good to go. But when you saute all these vegetables and do everything by layers, trust me, it adds a lot of flavor to it. After the flour, we're gonna add the seasonings. We're gonna add the chicken bouillon, the salt, the black pepper, and the water. And then you want to stir all of this. And every time you stir, make sure you scrape the bottom of the pan just in case anything is stuck there. Then at the end, we're gonna add the last of our liquid ingredients. We're gonna add the evaporated milk and we're gonna add the heavy cream. The evaporated milk just add a specific taste that is delicious in creamy soups. And the heavy cream is gonna help thicken it. Then you're gonna stir your soup and you're gonna taste it because if it needs salt or anything else, this will be the time to add it. Then you're gonna cook for 20 minutes with the lid on. But make sure that while the soup cooks, you stir it at least a couple of times so you can make sure that nothing gets stuck at the bottom of your pot. Now after the 20 minutes have passed, we wanna blend about half of the soup. Here I'm using a hand blender because I feel like it's easier, but if you don't have one, you could just use a regular blender. Just be careful because the soup, it is very hot. Now I only blend about half of the soup because I still want to feel the vegetables. But if you're the type that like a very smooth soup, then just blend it all. After blending, just give the soup a mix, cover and finish cooking for 10 minutes. In these 10 minutes, your soup will thicken a little more. But you could change the thickness if you want it a little bit more thick. Just cook the soup a little bit more without the lid on. But for me, 10 minutes tends to be the sweet spot. Then you want to stir the soup once again to make sure anything that is stuck on the bottom gets released. And then we are ready to serve this. And I don't know about you, but when I make soup, especially a creamy one, I love dipping some bread in it. Ooh, that is just so good. In the description below, I'll leave you my bread recipes just so you could try one and see how good it is with this soup. This soup, you could serve it and top it off like a loaded potato soup. You can add sour cream, you can add cheese, bacon, chives. I feel like anything crunchy will be perfect on the soup, like croutons, fried crispy onions. Ooh, fried crispy onions are definitely delicious. In the description below, I'll write for you all the ingredients. I also put the link to my website. There I got a lot of tips, tricks, and many more recipes. Now I really hope you enjoy this recipe. Buen provecho and see you on the next video.